So good evening, everybody. We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you because it is Valentine's Day, and this is the virtual chapter from IACT and IMDHA, bringing you the best in hypnotic entertainment and education that we have to offer. I am here. I'm Michael Watson. I'm here with my wonderful, I love you, Karen Hand, co-host. Say hello, Karen.
Hello, Karen. I love you, Michael, as well, and I have cherished you for years.
Isn't that
I call
gorgeous?
him my hypnosis husband, my hypno husband, my partner in crime in this business.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't even live in the same state.
It's probably what keeps the relationship flourishing. Nicole is going to tell us all sorts of things later on about relationships and how to keep them alive. So maybe we'll learn some things, Michael. We'll see.
I think so. So it is February 2023, and we're about ready to begin. We have we have as our upcoming guests this evening. We'll get there in a little bit. Nicole Dodd, who's going to talk with us about self-love. It's a gift. I think this is going to be a wonderful, exciting topic, and really looking forward to that. And Karen and I have a couple things that we want to share with you as well. But before we do, let's get through the calendar really quickly. You know what just happened, Karen?
The Galaxy of the Stars.
Oh my God, the Galaxy of the Stars. What an amazing star-studded event. And it was wonderful. We hope you'll join us next time around if you missed this one. And I do believe that you can get, I don't know all the details, but I think if you call the office, that you can get recordings of the presentations that we had at the Galaxy of the Stars. It was 4 presenters, a half a day each, 3.5 hours each. We had, let's see, we started out with Dorothy Struck, who's a doctor in Germany, talking about hypnofertility and hypno obstetrics. It was really, really some great stuff. So we started out before birth, mind you, all the way at the beginning with hypnofertility, and then we went on to working with adolescents, and then we went on to dealing with inherited family trauma, and then we went to hypnosis at the end of life. So we covered the whole gamut, and it was really a wonderful adventure. So check it out if you can. I'm going to let you, Karen, tell them about the next thing that's coming up. I'll bet you.
The next thing that's on my calendar is, I should say March 1st on my calendar is graduation of a bunch of new IACT members. They've just finished a certification training, or on March 1st will be finished with their certification program. And then they'll be attending, along with me, the ICBCH conference in sunny Orlando. Michael will be there. And we have a show of hands of people who'll be at the ICBCH conference coming up in March 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Yeah, yay. A bunch of us. See y'all there. And then I think the next thing on the calendar is the presenter series, correct, Michael?
Exactly
Starting
right.
March.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Starting March 15th, and it is 6 consecutive Wednesdays, and on each of those evenings, same bat channel as you're on right now. By the way, if you've got the link to this, you've got the link to that, but it'll be on Wednesdays starting March 15th, and each week we will have 2 guests that are presenters of pre and post conference programs at the upcoming Hypno Expo. So they'll each get a half an hour to talk to you about their thing, and you can ask them questions and stuff, and that should be very lovely. And
By the way, if you're going to the IACT IMDH conference in May, it's a great way to get a sneak peek of what's going to go on right ahead and right behind, so you can make your travel arrangements and stick around if you're interested in something. But you get to know the presenters that way and decide right then and there for free whether or not you want to drop some cash and really take the course. So,
well, and not only that, if you don't know that you're going yet, you can actually, log on to the presenter series and stuff. And then when you realize that you want to be there, you'll give us a call and you'll register, and we'll be able to see you here in Orlando in May. So the expo, by the way, is May 19th to the 23rd. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I run the IACT IMDHA Stress Management Consultant training, and that is the weekend of March 25th online for the next presentation of that. And I'm also excited. I'm not even going to tell you the dates because you guys are all over the place, but I have a live in-person, in the same room NLP practitioner training starting up here in Orlando soon. And I am after the last 2.5 years of everything on Zoom, it's just really going to be wonderful to spend some time in the same room with breathing the same air. Oh my God, that's a scary thought now, isn't it? But
I
but
don't know. We get on
we'll get
airplanes,
lots of
don't
fun.
we? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's
So
that.
so there's the calendar. Oh, by the way, we do have to tell people, by the way, you are here tonight, and if you are a member of IACT and IMDHA or other friendly hypnosis organizations, you can get CEUs simply because you spent some time with us here. Isn't that wonderful? You get rewarded twice, 3 times actually, because it's Karen and me, or 4 times because we also have Nicole Dodd. So do that. Get your CEUs, claim them, however you do that through your appropriate organization, and we're glad on you for it.
Yeah.
So there we are, Karen.
That's the calendar in the upcoming months. There's a bunch of stuff going on all year, but plan ahead. We'll see you in May and then figure out the rest of it. How about that?
Good deal.
So we have a couple of features for tonight, Michael. I think we're through with announcements, yeah?
Yeah, we are.
Um, except I want to sneak in one about Sherry Gilbert and I doing a post-conference, a pre-conference at IMDHA, 17th and 18th. Sorry, I had to take advantage. After all, Michael's teaching a course there too. You might as well mention yours.
Yeah.
The certification?
At which I'm sorry.
Yeah. I act.
Yes, well, actually, the big thing that I'm doing there, of course, is we teach the master trainer training around the weekend of the conference. So a few days, 3 days before and 2 days after. So I'm going to be enjoying that aloha spirit of that lovely hotel, by the way, for 8 days. And it's really great. I got to tell you guys seriously, this is the truth. This is a hotel. Last year was the first time we used this particular venue, having been COVIDed out for a couple of years and all of that. And because I am here in Orlando, I actually went out to that very same hotel this year. You're not going to believe me when I tell you this, but on Christmas Day to attend a lovely buffet and have some people wait on me and my husband and just enjoy the thing. So I like it enough to go back even when I don't have to. So I think that speaks well for it. So there we go. Karen, I don't want to talk any longer because I'm so excited about what I want to share, and I'm sure that you got some wonderful stuff to do as well. So please.
Would you like me to start or do you want to start?
Oh, I'd love for you to start.
I will start then. In the spirit of Valentines and love and that kind of thing, I want to steal from Lori Hammond, my friend and colleague, a technique that she uses, and I'm going to expand it a little bit and add some stuff to it. But that's what I love about our business is when you see something you really like, it really resonates, it really goes over well, you can adapt it, you can use it, and you can immediately take it and make it your own. In fact, Kelly Woods and I wrote a book together on hypnosis workshops, and that was the theme of the whole thing. Take what you learn and make it your own, because that's the kind of business we're in. So I just want to spread a little love, if everybody's up for that. And if you don't mind that, I'd love us all to spread a little love right here and right now. So I would like to invite you for a moment to look around the Zoom room and find somebody in our Zoom room that you would like to send a Valentine to. A Valentine, according to the dictionary, is a message of appreciation or love. It might be sentimental, it might be funny, but just find somebody in the room. You'll never have to tell who it is. Find somebody in the room that you would like to send a Valentine to. Keep that in mind, and I invite you now to move into your imagination. You might close your eyes just so you can get into the imagination of this wonderful experience. And if you don't mind, take your hand or hands to your heart. Just take your hands to your heart. Feel the life blood pumping there. Feel the energy emanating from your heart all the way through your body. You might feel it beating. You might just know it to be ticking along, pumping that energy, that love Imagine, if you will, that energy moving there from your heart up to the top of your head. And now that energy of love and appreciation moving from your toes back to your heart, pumping and moving that energy up to the top of your head and all the way down to your toes and back to your heart. And I wonder if you can imagine, almost as if it's an infinity loop, from your heart up to your head, looping back down to your heart, looping down to your toes, back up to your heart, almost in that infinity loop, connecting your heart to the top of your head with one loop, back to your heart, back down around your toes, back up to your heart, feeling that energy moving inside of you, engulfing you, feeling the appreciation of life-giving energy. Now, if you don't mind, think about that person that you wanted to send that Valentine to in this room, and just imagine that you take that love, that energy, that spark of life, and hold on to it and share it. Share it right now with that person that you wanted to send that Valentine to. Let that infinity loop move all the way through the multiverse, all the way to that person, right to them, sharing that love with them, engulfing them with that love, and even bringing it back to you. So incorporated in your infinity loop now is a loop of love and energy out to that very special person, coming all the way back to you, looping through there in your heart with all of the energy, all of the love. I'd like you to imagine that everyone in this room chose you, that everyone in this room chose you to send that love and that Valentine and that appreciation to. Everybody sent that love and light right back to you. Take it in. Take it in. Take all of it in. Take it into your heart. Add it to your infinity loop, from your heart to your head, to your toes, to your heart, to someone you appreciate, back to you, receiving and sharing. And notice how good it feels to receive that Valentine, that appreciation, that love. Allow that to move all the way through you, move all the way around you, and engulf you. Take it all in. Enjoy it for as long as you would like to. Hold on to it. When you're ready, you can come back here and join us all in the room, finding that person in the room that you sent the love to and noticing the look on their face, how good it feels to be connected. Mind, body, spirit, and the world. And that feels pretty good, doesn't it? Grace, I was just so enamored, peeking a little bit and watching you just flow with that whole movement. You were sending so much appreciation back to me. Thank you, Grace. It was wonderful. But then all of you were sending that appreciation to me. So it really felt great as we were all sending it right to you. Thank you. And I'd like to thank Lori Hammond for the inspiration, the idea.
What a lovely thing. By the way, and Karen, if I might just make a technical comment, your language is beautiful. You know, it really was a wonderful flowing thing, and I just really kind of appreciate the elegance of that, as well as being just a beautiful part of what we do. Because you remember, I'm the poetry guy. You know.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, yeah, very nice.
Well,
Very.
thank you for high praise coming from you, saying that might have been somewhat poetic. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, and you had me dancing inside. You almost had me breathing heavy.
And now I pass the baton.
All right. Well, so, Valentines, love, 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 love. And then there's the other side of that coin, isn't there? And Nicole's going to talk about a part of this as she talks about self-love. I just want to share with you a protocol, and there really isn't time to go through it other than for me to kind of whisk you through the details of it and invite you to consider how it might be useful in your work with clients if you run into somebody who is in this situation. It's a part of a workshop on codependency that started out with a self-love process, which I'm not gonna really talk about so much, because I think that's the prerequisite, isn't it, of being able to sort of break free of relationships in which you are enmeshed or codependent or or whatever it is. And so this is an NLP process that comes from the gosh, I'd have to say that comes from the Northern California NLP community. It really does have a legacy, and was developed by Robert McDonald, and also presented. So some of you know some of these names, presented in association with Robert Dilts and with NLP California and the folks up in Santa Cruz. So in any case, it is called the releasing enmeshment pattern. And I'm just quickly going to tell you how it works. And I want to see if I can do something here really quick. I need to take a look at my computer screen because I think that I have the ability to take this handout. I hope, I hope, I hope. Can I do that? Will it let me? I thought that I could drag it into the chat room. Oh, I think I can. I'm just I'm sorry. I apologize, you guys. Uh, does that do it? There you go. So there is in the chat room a handout that has the specific steps of this process. So if you just click on it, you can either open that up on your screen or you can download it. And
I don't have it in the chat.
It didn't go there. Oh, wait. There we go.
Now it's there.
It
Thank you.
just needed me to push the enter button. All right. So here's the process, and it's just a really beautiful thing. Um, to begin with, you think of someone with whom you feel enmeshed or attached or overly involved, and you may have clients who come to you with an issue like this, right? So you identify who the enmeshment is with, and because it's an NLP process, it isn't one of these sitting back in the chair and close your eyes and breathing deeply, but more standing. And notice the phraseology of it is interesting. They say standing in an emotional state of contemplation, meditation, or prayer. It's essentially an upright trance, right? And in that state, what you do is you begin to imagine that you have magical laser powers in your hands, and you use those magical hands to sculpt a life-size hologram or representation, a three-dimensional representation of this person. And it's kind of interesting to watch people do this. They'll take a while, and you can see what care or maybe lack of care that they use in putting this thing together and getting it just right for them. Okay, and then finally they finish by blowing a breath of life into their nostrils, just like this, or however it is that they want to do it. So they can imagine them to be fully there right now in this holographic representation. And then allowing their body to guide them. You want them to discover how their attachment or their sense of enmeshment or connection is represented in their thinking about it. For example, some people say, well, when I think about it, we have a heart-to-heart connection. Some people say, I feel like I'm wrapped up in a fisherman's net. Some people say, so however it is that they represent it, that's fine. There's a cord connecting us. And you have them just describe out loud the nature of this enmeshment connection and noticing where is it, what's it made of, how big is it, and how does it feel to the touch. And then notice their emotional reactions as you ask them, just using these magical hands, for a moment, to seriously consider severing the enmeshment. You don't have them do it yet. You just have them pause at that place where they're considering the possibility. And it really does some important stuff, getting some processing going. Get very close to severing the enmeshment and then stop. Now, what you want to do is gently then ask the part of you that created this enmeshment for its positive purpose. What was this enmeshment here to do for me? What does it offer me? What are the actual benefits or gifts this enmeshment provides in their life? And take a little time to let them get that. Now you want to have them turn just a little to their right and to use those same hands to sculpt how do I want to say, to sculpt an available, evolving self, a new self of them, a holographic image in the same way of a you who has already solved these relationship issues and who has the ability, by the way, to get for themselves whatever it is that this relationship was providing for them. This you is evolving every day. It's a living example of being more and more who you want to be, a companion that's just steps ahead of you, loves you, has a sense of humor, etc. Get that. It will always be your companion. Then turn back and face the other person again. And now notice that while you were sculpting your evolving self, that they created their own evolving self who is standing just a little bit to their right. So gently ask if there's any part of you, one last time, that objects to releasing the other from your body and connecting him or her to their evolving self. And then connecting yourself to your own evolving self. And then that's the way that we're going to do it. So when you're ready, you gently release the enmeshment connection, remove it, sever it, melt it, however it is that you do. And then respect the other person by physically connecting them to their evolving self in precisely the same way that they used to be connected to you. And physically turning and connecting your evolving self in precisely the way that you used to be connected with the other person. And then let yourself future pace. Go off into the future and see your evolving you and feel the positive connection with your evolving self and listen as he or her welcomes you home and perhaps even whispers something special in your ear. Just allow that integration to occur and then notice how you feel when you think of future experiences with your evolving self, handling difficulties, relationships, pleasures, and the other person that they were in the relationship with. So there's the process modeled from NLP and described in a really interesting way. I hope you all can download the document. It'll be a lot easier for you to have some time to be able to look it over and run through it. If we had a few more minutes, we might have been able to do some kind of a demonstration, but that was breakneck speed, and so I hope it was clear and useful.
Thank you for the handout.
Yeah,
it's very clear.
Yeah, good, great. All right. So, Karen.
Yes.
I'm ready for the drum.
Time for the drum.
I'm ready for the bells to ring.
Ding, 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 ding. It is time for the prize of the night. I want to tell you, I told this to Nicole earlier today, and I hope it doesn't sound like a brag, but my superpower in life, I think, is finding talent, just recognizing when somebody really has talent. Back in my radio days, I was in a position where I could hire people, and I hired some of the finest talent in radio these days. I have to say so myself. In fact, one of my first hires is now the evening news anchor for CBS Network News. And so, I think I've got kind of a little knack for spotting someone who just has it. I've carried that over into hypnosis. And I just have to tell you, I had the pleasure of seeing Nicole Dodd at the Elman Legacy Conference recently. I was absolutely blown away. I said, oh my gosh, here we go. We got a rising superstar. I don't mean to put any pressure on Nicole. I just wanted to let everybody know that I was absolutely blown away, and I believe that you will be blown away tonight too. Nicole is a hypnotist and master NLP practitioner from the UK, a self-proclaimed trainee nerd. You'll often find her on the latest course or promoting someone else's. Boy, doesn't that touch our hearts, Michael, because we love continuing education so much. Nicole actively sees clients rather than niching. She enjoys the challenge of working with an array of clients and their perceived problems. Notice her wording. She loves working with an array of clients and their perceived problems. Love that. With lots of experience in working with people with anxiety, panic attacks, and weight loss, helping people of all ages and from all over the world, working on a client-led basis, both face-to-face and online, using techniques such as regression to cause, parts therapy, and quantum journeys hypnosis. Nicole is hoping to be offering her own trainings later on this year when she isn't delving deeper into hypnosis. You'll find her reading a novel, cooking, playing piano, or painting. But tonight she's going to treat us to her wisdom on hypnosis and a little bit of self-love and relationship stuff. Okay, Nicole, I don't mean to put any pressure on you. I just want you to know from the depths of my heart, I'm sending you the Valentine today. I really love you. Dazzle us, please.
Thank you. I hope I live up to expectations now. Oh, gosh. So, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Who here celebrates it? Just by a show of hands. Does anyone celebrate? Who loves it? Who hates it and thinks it's a commercialization? Yeah, I have very mixed feelings on it. I think Valentine's can be a wonderful way for us to express love, to have a special day, to encourage us to do things when life can kind of get in the way of our relationships. So it can be a nice time for us to make a reflection, but it can also put on an incredible amount of pressure. Do we buy each other cards? Do we buy gifts? Do we buy flowers? Oh, he didn't buy me a gift and I bought him one. Oh, he mustn't love me. Or, oh, he didn't buy me the right flowers, or he didn't get me jewelry, or all these different things can come on up. And in fact, Valentine's Day is supposed to be about celebrating love, but I think actually it can cause a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and a lot more deeper issues than what it needs, all for the purpose of somebody out there decided one day that we should have this day so someone else can make a load of money, to be frank. Shouldn't we just be celebrating our relationships when we need to? And it's hard work to put into a relationship all the time, every day. You know, it's like cooking a meal, like making a curry. If you leave it burning, if you leave it cooking on high heat, you've got to keep adding more moisture to it. You've got to keep adding more flavors to it. But if you turn that heat down and let it simmer, it'll cook for ages. And the thing is when you take it off the heat and you leave it for a day or two in the fridge and come back and heat it up, it tastes even better because all the flavors got to know each other. And that's kind of what relationships are like. It's really unrealistic to think that a relationship can thrive on everything being put in all the time. Like when we first meet someone, that's exactly what it's like. It's a constant adrenaline rush. The messages are in, the phone calls are in, we're going out on dates, we're having loads of sex, loads of intimacy, everything's going on. And then all of a sudden it stops. And that's when people start questioning what's wrong with the relationship. But that's the very point where you should be going, yes, everything gets to start melting together and coming together now, because that's the real part of a relationship. It's tough, you know, not every day is going to be easy, but it's important to have that pull back from it as well, so you can really enjoy the good moments when they come. You know, it's like eating your favorite candy, or I'm sure we've all had a situation where we had too much of the same drink that we can't touch it ever again. You don't want that with your relationship. You want to be able to enjoy it when the moment arises. And I think that social media puts an awful lot of pressure on us about what perfection is. Having this perfect relationship. I've been on Facebook today and all these couples with the meals, their flowers, their chocolates, their dates on the beach, their champagne, and all wonderful, all lovely. Bullshit though, isn't it? It's false. It absolutely is. You know, okay, so he got them flowers, but how many times in the year did they buy you flowers? Why do you not acknowledge it then? Why does it always have to be just acknowledged on Valentine's Day? And it's lovely to get those gifts, but I do think it also puts a lot of pressure on us, because then as we're looking in on that, we're now going, well, I didn't get flowers. Well, they've been together for 40 years. We've only been together 10. Why have they still got all that love going on? And so we start making all these comparisons. We start trying to live up to this Prince Charming out there, because that's what they show on TV. It's what you hear in songs. It's what you see on social media. It's not real. And I know that because, well, I started buying into that last year. I started watching Facebook and watching the TV and questioning, hang on a minute, why is all that happening? And I'm not getting that. Why is this person going on a date every weekend and I'm not being taken on a date every weekend? Why is it in movies they have all these feelings and it's all strong and intimate and passionate for all this period of time? And so what I started doing was I started comparing everything in my life to everything out there. I was perfectly happy with what I had, but then I decided that actually I wanted what all the movies were showing, what Facebook's showing, and everything else. So I wanted something that didn't really exist. I started having these expectations of my husband that he couldn't attain to, because one, he would have to be a mind reader, because he doesn't know what I'm seeing on social media. He would have to start jumping through all these hoops. That would be weird, because we've never had that sort of busy, heavy relationship. And so I got really bored. I briefly ended my marriage for a few weeks because I thought that's what it had to be like out there. And breaking up was hard. It was brutal. It was hard on the kids. It was hard on us. I had a few weeks where I felt a bit free and I could do things, and I saw opportunities of, oh, I could do this thing and I could do that and I could be this whole new woman. That's strange. Why could I be a whole new woman outside of the relationship, but not in the relationship I'm in? So we had this time apart, and one day I decided to just write a list. Admittedly, the list was supposed to be all the things that went wrong so I'd never go back. That list was quite a few pages long, front and back, and in really small writing. And I looked at the list, and then I did something else. I looked at every single point, and I did the issue, then I wrote him, and then I wrote me. I'll share some of them with you. One of them I put was, I wasn't in love. The column for him remained blank. The column for me was, I shut down. That wasn't his problem. That was my problem, but he was getting blamed for it. The next one was, he never says goodnight. The column for him was blank. The column for me was, I should have explained how important that was to me. I should have made him aware that that was something I really needed and valued to make me feel safe and secure. I should also have dealt with my insecurities on that. I thought I wasn't happy. Guess what? His column was blank again. My one, I had high and low moods. I was comparing myself and our relationship to others. Too much social media and not enough living. Too much worrying. All them comparisons led to all this unnecessary worrying. Then I did his unsociable. For his column, he did get something there. I thought, well, do you know what? He could mix a little bit more. But for me, I need to mix, need to make my own friends. And I need to be prepared to go out on my own with my own friends instead of expecting him to always be my sidekick 24/7. And then I'll share one more with you, and I'll put withdrawn. And I put, for him, he was always working. And then for me, I withdrew. I was always on my phone, or always studying, or always working. So here I was about to throw away a 17-year relationship, married for 13, I think it is, blaming him, but I was the problem. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't the problem. He wasn't the problem. The problem was my perception. I perceived all these things to be problems that weren't there. Or if they were there, they didn't need to be there because I wasn't doing something for myself. I wasn't communicating properly. The fact of it was, all of those things was a lack of confidence on my behalf, a lack of self-esteem, and my God, a lot of lack of self-love. And I realized that if I learned to love myself, then he'd love me in the way that I need him to too. Because it wouldn't matter if he didn't say goodnight or not, because I'll be saying it to myself. Because the relationship with myself is for life. And he come into the scene later on. It's not our job to expect the other person to make us happy or to make us love or anything else. We are responsible for our own emotions. We're responsible for our own states. And somehow I had dumped every single problem, 6 pages worth, I see from my notes, 6 pages worth on him. It wasn't. It was just all my perception, all my thoughts, all the arguments in my head, my lack of communication, my beliefs, my feeling left out from what the fake world was presenting. Because the truth was, he was shocked when I tried to end things because he was happy. So how can it be someone else is happy and the other person isn't? I wasn't communicating what I needed. And if he wasn't given it, why wasn't I then going out and getting that for myself? If I needed a hug, why wasn't I going up to him and giving him a hug? Why was I expecting him to mind read and do that? Why wasn't I going up to him and saying goodnight or I love you, instead of expecting him to do it all the time? I wanted to go on dates. Why didn't I book the dates? It was a real smack in the face. I nearly threw 17 years because of me getting in my own way. Absolutely baffling. So we sat down and we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. And I had to really explain my needs. I had to explain it in a way because I felt I'd already explained it over and over again in all the arguments we'd had leading up to that, in a way that he would understand. The error was on my communication. I wasn't communicating in a way that he could understand me, that he could relate to me. I hadn't made him understand that it was something important. It wasn't just a nag or a whinge or a moan. It was something that I had value, that I needed to be done. And if he weren't going to do that, why wasn't I taking responsibility for it? So we had this chat and we made a rule. We said we're going to have a date every 2 weeks, a weekend away every 2 months, and a holiday away together every 2 years. Now, it's only been a few months, so we're not quite there on everything yet. And there's been kinks to iron out, because guess what? We can't make every relationship work to timelines either. So we haven't always been on the date every 2 weeks, but it's our aim, it's our goal, it's our reminder that, hey, we need to do something. And dates doesn't mean going out for a posh meal every time and spending a load of money or going to the theatre or doing that. Dates mean quality time together, where we're not on our phones, where we're enjoying each other's company. Sometimes it's having a conversation and sometimes it can be just watching a movie and having your arm around each other. But it's being there for each other. That's the purpose of a date. It's to say, here I am. I want to spend time with you. How would you like to spend time? So that's what we started doing. We started getting to know each other again as if we hadn't been together. And one of the important things that came up in all of this was he always called me babe. And the kids always called me mum. No one really called me Nicole. I kind of lost who I was in this, lost my identity. And I was like, you know, it's nice being called babe every now and then, but no one calls me Nicole. And so he started calling me Nicole. God, it was so weird. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But it was really nice because at the same time, he was giving me my identity back. He was seeing me as a person, not a plaything, not a toy. I was more than just the wife. I was a human being on this planet again. So it was really important to me to be called by my name, and throw in the pet name every now and then. But this is me. So talk to me. Of course, I had to listen to his side as well. I had to listen to how he was feeling and be prepared to take on his communication and what he'd been trying to tell me, and be prepared to listen to that and act upon that. And so for the first few months, we were there and we were talking to each other, but saying, is this okay if we do this? Or how are you feeling today? Or are you okay with us doing this? And it was really just checking in with each other to make sure the other was okay, rather than assuming, making this plan because we're a team. It was about making sure that other person was being seen and being heard and their needs were met. So we turned it all around, because what was happening was he was happy, but I was focusing on the wrong relationship. I was focusing on the outside. But the truth is, the real relationship that needed the work was here on the inside. It was me. I felt I was broken. I had things I needed to deal with, insecurities. And so it's time for me to fall back in love with myself. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, really, is because I think in this world, we're so focused on everything outside of us, the outside world, the outside people, got to please mom, got to please the kids, got to please the friends, got to please the clients. How often do any of you just stop and think, when do I get to please me? How often do we do that for ourselves? And yet we are our most important person in our lives, because without us, we wouldn't exist. We can't go around helping everyone else if we're not working right on the inside ourselves. It's so important to be putting that love into us first, because if we're filled with love, we can continue to give in love, and people will feed off that. It's all energy. If we're pumping from a high value energy, then that's going to come out in the people around us too. So I've come up with a list of a few things that I think every relationship needs. So the first one is be present. Whatever you're doing, whether it's with yourself or whether it's with others, fully engage yourself in the moment. When you're eating a meal, how often do you sit there and really engage in that meal? If you're reading a book, are you reading the book, or are you kind of on Facebook or TikTok or messaging someone in between? When you're watching a movie, are you watching the movie, or are you up here in your head with all the anxieties of tomorrow and everything else kicking? So if you're going to be with yourself, or you're going to be with another person, be present, because there's nothing worse than trying to have a conversation with someone who's looking at something else, who's not fully connected with you. So whether that's with someone else or with yourself, when you're doing that special time, be there. Even with the kids, and they come up to you and you're like, oh, just a minute, or yeah, No, just put the phone down for a second and look them in the eye. That's what the world is really lacking now, is eye contact, communication. You know, I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world, but over here, everything's all self-checkouts now. And it's all another way to just remove you from having human interaction. So when we get that opportunity to have interaction with another human being, I really think it's important to embrace that, because you don't know for that other person what that means for them. It might be the first time in a week. It might be the only thing they get all day. So give a smile, give them that bit of time. When you're sat in the waiting room, put the phone away and have a conversation with a stranger, make a friend, be present in the moment and live in that moment. The next one is ask the right type of questions. Ask questions that require a response that's more than yes or no. Ask questions that's going to strike an actual conversation. Be controversial. Have the other person have to really contemplate on what that response is that they're going to give. Rather than asking, how was work today? And they just go, fine. What was the best part of your day today? Who did you really speak to today? Was there a part of your day where you just laughed? What happened? Tell me about it. I want to hear about your day. I've missed you. And that goes for the kids. And it also goes for ourselves. Because so often we go straight to the blame game. Why am I doing this wrong? Why do I always mess things up? What happens if we start asking, what am I doing right? What are the steps I can take to make a better decision next time? Self-love again, because rather than berating ourselves, we're now asking ourselves to start searching for the solution, to start searching wider afield. The next one is to say more than just I love you. There are so many different words for I love you, but I love you is also the actions, like holding the car door open or bringing the cup of tea to your bedside just in time for when you wake up so you've got a nice warm drink next to your bed. Or turning on the electric blanket just before you get into bed so you haven't got to freeze. They're I love yous too, you know. And I think a lot of those go unnoticed. I think a lot of the time there's people in our lives doing things for us and maybe we find them downright irritating, but we forget that's them saying I love you. Maybe it's the overbearing mother who sends 20 text messages a day. She's not meaning to be overbearing, she's just saying I wouldn't be part of your life, I love you. Maybe it's the parent who's a bit anxious about their kids going out and gives the warning, or my mum, she always says, call me as soon as you get home. Does my head in. I'm like, I'm just driving around the corner. It's okay. But that's her, I love you. I want you to keep safe. So as much as the actions of other people might annoy us, we need to stop and just think, is that them saying I love you? Because sometimes people struggle to say them words. So they say it with actions. They say it with the things that they do. Maybe it's a kiss on the cheek or a hug. But love is so much more than just those three words. It really, really is. And when you're present with somebody and you have that communication going, you'll find those things, you'll pick up on it. The amount of times I've had clients come in and they come for another thing and they talk about their relationship and they say, oh, it's horrible. He doesn't love me anymore. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, there's just nothing there anymore. I think it's over. And we'll do some work with them. We'll do some self-love and they'll go home and I'll get a text message around 6 o'clock at night. Okay, I was wrong. He does love me. He come in and he grabbed me on the ass. I forgot he does that every single night, but I was so focused on me and all the things he was doing wrong, I didn't notice. So there's that awareness that needs to be created. What other things are they doing when you're not hearing it? The other thing is time together. Date nights are wonderful, but people often think that they have to be expensive and they don't. Why not have a date eating dinner in a different room of the house? Turn the lights down, put candles on, play some music for a change. What about playing games or just going for a picnic or even a walk together? These are all dates too, as long as if you're giving them that attention, as long as if you're communicating with them and you're asking the right questions. These can all be dates too. It doesn't have to be big and elaborate. It can be as simple as going for a walk with a dog. In fact, I had one couple, they come to me separately. So she'd come initially for something, and during the session she was saying that the relationship's over, I want out. So she went home and she ended the relationship. And I got a call from the husband the next morning. I need to come and see you. Okay. And he comes in and goes, okay, I don't know what's going on. She's ended it. I'm quite happy. Okay, well, let's talk about things, you know. And it turns out that they were both just plodding along like most relationships do. She was missing the spark. And so I said to them, and this was a very, very big and outlandish actually, because they were the type of people who were very wealthy and very upper class, let's say. So I turned around and I said, the thing with relationships is it all comes down to anchoring. Okay, if you're going on just a normal boring date, or you're just going out for dinner again, but you do it all the time, or you're just going out with friends again, you don't really remember those memories. It just falls into all of the other stuff. I said, but you do remember the bad times, don't you? You do remember the blazing rays. And you do remember the beginning of the relationship, don't you? When it was all new and fresh and you did ice skating, or you did this and you did that. Yeah, like it's anchoring. You're creating these happy, intense moments. And so that gets anchored. But when it's just, nah, it's just the same old, it doesn't get anchored in the same way. It just blends into everything else. So I said, I want you to do this. This week, I want you to go and take your wife out on a date. I want you to go and take her to a charity shop. And I want you to go and buy clothes for her. And she's going to go and buy clothes for you. And then you're going to go and wear them. And then you're going to go out for a dinner or whatever you want. And he looks at me and he's absolutely horrified. And I went, trust me, this will work. He's like, why? And I said, because it'll be so ridiculous. Just think of the fun you can have and what clothes you can pick for and how daft you can make her look. You're going to laugh like you're teenagers again. You're going to have all these wonderful memories coming up. She's going to hate you. She's really going to hate you at the time. But I tell you now, you'll remember that in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. You're going to be telling your friends about that date at parties, about how much fun you had, how much joy you had. Why? It's a pattern interrupt. It's completely unexpected. So, yeah, he got really excited about it, told the kids, loved it. And that's what I tell my clients to do. If it's going stagnant, use a pattern interrupt. Do something completely unexpected. Get them to do something that they would never consider to be the normal date, the normal routine. Do something that creates a high energy. Do something that creates laughter and fun. Something that's really daft and silly. You know, maybe it's just going and playing whack-a-mole or something and going back to them childhood memories. It doesn't matter. It's about getting them anchors firing up again, because then when they look back in 3 months' time, they'll look back and see all these funny, happy memories. But in a boring, stagnant relationship, they look back and you might have had 50 dates, but if they're all the same old boring thing, we don't do anything. That's what's going to be the perception. So it's really important to have these things pop up. So when someone has got them low moments and they can look back on that, they can be reminded very easily of all the fun that you have, of the reasons why it's good to stay together, why you work together. The other thing that's important, in my opinion, is future planning. Every relationship needs to know it's going somewhere. It needs to have some direction. Maybe you don't have the 10-year plan. Maybe it's just the plan for the week or the month. But it's having something to look forward to. You know, I wonder what it'd be like if you told them that on Thursday we're having sex tonight. Something to start looking forward to. Because people don't talk about sex. They keep it quiet, and then the man tries to put his hand over and it all tries to go off and you don't know where you're at. How about you tell them that's what's going to happen, and you tell them how it's going to go down. Get them excited. Get them excited about where you're going to take them on a date. Start having things for them to start planning and looking forwards to. But that also means for you too, because if we're looking back at self-love, we want to have plans and goals for ourselves too. So is it something that you're going to learn? Are you going to do a 5K run? Are you going to go on a holiday? Whatever it is, but setting yourself something to look forward to in the future. Otherwise, you've got no reason to get up in the morning apart from the kids have dragged you out of bed because it's a school run again. So have something to look forward to. Have something to look forward to each day, even if it's just one little small thing, but just something. The next one is communication. And when I say that, I mean not through other people, not through other people's opinions. I mean real, raw communication. The kind of communication where you share your needs and then you ask them what theirs are too. Ask them if you've met their needs recently. You know, people are often afraid to ask where we're at in the relationship. But what happens if you just do a weekly check-in? Have I met your needs this week? Is there anything that I've done that may have upset you that I can learn from? Because the problem is when we keep things back, we start keeping a tally. The resentments start building. And this is what I always say to my clients too, is when we walk down the street, if someone bumps into us and hits our shoulder or something happens, we both go, I'm sorry. Well, we do in England anyway, because we apologise for everything. But we both say, I'm sorry. And then we forgive and we move on, don't we? No one's remembering the time someone bumped them in the street, are they? That it's gone, it's forgotten about. So why is it with the very people who are the most important to us, we have to keep a tally? We can't let it go. It becomes another thing they didn't do. Why? Why can we forgive the stranger in the street, but we can't forgive those that mean the most to us? So if we have these regular check-ins, we can communicate to each other, actually, that really annoyed me. I would prefer it if you handled it this way. And just having that without it being an attack on each other, but discussing what it felt like and why that's important that it's addressed. You know, it could be that you just really don't like something, or it makes you feel awkward, and they don't know that. Maybe it's that you need them to give you a bit of space in the mornings, that, you know, you want to go and get your teeth done before you have a kiss, or we all have our own different needs. But it's important that they need to know that, because they're not mind readers. They can't expect to know that throughout every single day, every single month, every single year. So having that communication, and then when your partner gets it right, praise them, let them know they did a good job. We tell our clients all the time, praise your subconscious mind. They know it's done a really good job. When do we ever praise ourselves for doing a good job? When do we ever praise the other half for doing a good job? I know it might feel a little bit belittling, but actually it's really nice to be told you've done well. People like being told that they've done well. And I don't know why as adults we're so reserved, because children are quite happy to do it. So when did we decide that it's not okay to tell someone they've done well? When did we decide it's not okay to congratulate ourselves for doing a job well done? Maybe it's that you walked away from the argument, instead of blasting your head off, you went, I'm just going to have 5 minutes. That could be a point where you say, well done, because now we're changing. And the thing is, the more that we congratulate ourselves for the things that we're doing well, the more we're going to start doing those things well easier, because now we're giving the right message to ourselves. This is what we want. This is the behavior. So it's really important, not for everyone else, but also for us and what we're doing with ourselves. I think it's also important to have acceptance, to accept others, but also accept ourselves. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has skeletons in the closet. Everyone has things that they regret. That's the journey of life. There'd be no point to it if we all just live this perfect life where there was never an up or a down. We need to have the downs to know when we're on the up, and we need to have the ups to know when things aren't quite working out, so we can sort it out. So we mess up at times. Accept it and move on. I think it's really, really important to accept us for who we are, for what we might have done in the past, whether it's guilt, shame, regret, because we were a different person back then. So how dare we judge and view that younger version of us from the perspective of us having all of this knowledge of today? We didn't have that then. We made the best choices that we could at the time. We learned. And then we move on. We accept ourselves and we accept others. And then important to also hold yourself accountable. It's your job to look after you. It's your job to look after the relationships around you. If you want something, it's your job to go and get it. It's not someone else's job to do that for you. Hold yourself accountable for the change that you wanted to have happen in your life. If you want to change in your relationship, then be the change that makes that change. And the rest will start happening back. And I know that sometimes you're, oh, but it's always me making the change. It's always me doing the first step. Well, do you want to walk away from that? Because you couldn't be bothered to be the one who always makes the first step. Because you could communicate that. You could spend time together and you could teach them that. Maybe they don't have that resource yet. Maybe they need a little bit of a guidebook, a handbook on how you work. And then there's intimacy. Touch. Everyone thinks sex is intimacy, but it's so much more than that. It's just touching the cheek, or the lips, or the ears, or even just running a finger just along the eyebrow. That's all intimate too. In fact, that might be even more powerful, because it's not something that's done all the time. These are super sensitive areas when they're not touched often. When they're touched so delicately, it starts creating a new connection with you. You can also touch someone with your eyes. It can be that look. I'm sure we've all had that smouldering look from the other half when they want some. But that can be intimate too. How about sitting in front of each other and just looking in each other's eyes? But looking at more than the eyes, seeing the soul of that person, seeing the flex, all the different changes that's going on, looking for the dilations, and just really being in that moment. It can be powerful, powerful stuff. All relationships do need some form of intimacy, whether that's with your children and holding their hands as you're walking them to school, or giving them a hug goodnight, or maybe it's saying goodbye to your mum or your dad and just giving them a hug or a handshake or a high five even, depending on what family you're in. We also need to have intimacy with ourselves though. How often do we just touch ourselves? And I'm not talking the dirty kind, but yeah, you can go for that if you want. But we know havening works. Just touching ourselves and calming ourselves down, doing the bilateral stimulation. All of these things can be good for us too. They're all ways of showing ourselves that love. And okay, so say you do want sex and that's the intimate part for you. Ask for it. If you're not getting it, ask for it. If that's too big a leap, then have a little cue where maybe you leave some knickers on the duvet, or you put a note out, or you know, you have a little card that you flash. It could be anything. You could have a keyword that you use. You don't have to go begging for it. Leave subtle hints. And if they don't get the hint, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to make it blindingly obvious. And then you're going to have to tell them, I gave you this hint, I gave you that hint, and I gave you the other hint. Because sometimes people don't know. Maybe they're too busy staring at the screens. Maybe they're too busy caught up in work or stress or something else. Don't assume it's not because they don't want you. Assume that maybe they just hadn't paid quite enough attention in that moment to notice. But again, we're going back to accountability. If you want it, you need to voice that. Whether you voice that with that smouldering look, whether you voice that with communication, or whether you voice that by leaving a note or booking it in the calendar, having that future planning. If you want it, you need to be responsible for getting it. So it's also about meeting the other person's needs too when it comes to intimacy. We can become very caught up in what intimacy means for us without realizing what that means for the other person. What if they don't like being hugged? What if they don't like being kissed? What if they really need things to be slow? I mean, if you've been through a bad patch with someone, sometimes we have to go slow to build up that trust again. So it's really important to know that you're getting that right. You wouldn't go on a blind date and expect to go home and get your leg over. You'd woo them, you'd put the time in, you'd put the effort in. And I say this to my clients, you can either put the time and effort into the relationship where you know what you've got, you've had that for years, or you can go have the messy divorce, and then you can go and start dating and dating and dating and dating. And I tell you now, that's going to cost you a lot more time, a lot more effort, and a lot more money than just put in what you're already going to have to do later on down the line into your own relationship. The one that you already know, the one that you already chose, the one that you know can work because it already has worked. So try new things. Maybe go back to the place where you first met. But just do anything other than what you're currently doing if it's not working, because what you're doing isn't working. Another really important aspect is forgiveness. It's so important to just forgive and let go. We will always make mistakes. Some will be small and some will be big whoppers. We need to forgive ourselves too. Forgiveness allows us to move on. The other thing that I think is really, really interesting to do is doing regular brain dumps. And I don't mean going off and venting out to your other half or your mom. I know it can help sometimes going to the coffee shop and having a chat with the girls and getting it all out. But I mean sitting down with a notepad and just writing and writing and writing anything that comes to your mind, whether it's, oh, I've got to go make a cup of coffee in a minute. Oh, I'm really annoyed about that. Oh, I feel about this. Oh, when I was 6 years old, this happened. Whatever comes to mind, get it all out until you can't write anymore. And then when you're done, get the pages and rip them out. Do not read them. And go and crumple them up and put them in the bin, the shredder, or go outside and burn them away safely. You don't need to read it. You just need to clear what's going on in here. Because sometimes we just clog ourselves up with all the would haves, could haves, should haves. Why isn't this going on? They're just the perceptions. So if we just write them down, get them out, can be gone, we can let it go, and we can move on with actually what's really important around us. The other thing is listen to understand rather than respond. How often have you had a discussion with someone, you didn't even hear a word they said because you were too busy thinking about how you're going to respond? But they're communicating something to you. You're missing something really important. What's their body language telling you? What are their words telling you? They're trying to have a conversation with you. So it's really important to just stop, put your agenda aside, and listen to what it is they're trying to express to you. And I know that's hard to do in the heat of an argument, but it's important because that's where the communication starts. That's where you can start to evolve and learn and grow together. And they can have their piece, they can have their say, and you can listen, you can understand. And then if you feel the need to, then you can share your bit. But it's so important to have that. And I've got teenagers, so I really understand the need for just listen to understand, because people do get wound up and they do need to express things, but they're not always just picking it out on you. They've not always got the problem at you. They're just mad at the world or mad at something else and they need to vent. So just listen to understand and what's really going on. So all of these things apply to ourselves. Even listening to understand. When we're getting an emotion come up or a thought come up, how often do we just stop to try and understand what's being said to ourselves? What are we trying to communicate? Be intimate with yourself. Just look in the mirror in the morning and just really look at yourself. No looking away, no bashful looking, no negative thoughts or comments or any of that. Just see you and find something positive to think about yourself, to tell yourself. You got a beautiful smile. You did good today. You got out of bed. Today is going to be a great day. But just see yourself, because we're there expecting the world to see us. And in a world where there's billions of people, and a world where we have social media, we're all jumping out going, hey, come find me. Hey, come look at my post. We feel very unseen. What happened if we started seeing ourselves? What happens if we started putting into ourselves what we think other people should be putting into us? Taking that responsibility. I wonder what would start changing in your life if that happened. So, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to just ask you a few questions, and I just want you to answer them all in the vicinity of your own mind, just some reflection. And this could be that you're answering the questions about a relationship, a friendship, or maybe it's your self-ship, that relationship that you have with yourself. It's a little check-in, because how often do we do these check-ins? So whatever way you want to, whether you want to do it with your eyes open, closed, it doesn't matter to me. I just want you to consider for a moment, what is love to me? How is this relationship that I'm thinking about really going? You know, we give our cars regular checks. How often do you give yourself these regular relationship checks? So how is it going? Am I asking the right questions in this relationship? Are my questions positive and loving, or are they cruel and resentful? In what ways do I give quality time to me, to my relationship? How often do I give myself quality time? Is it enough? How do I show up to this relationship? Am I fully present, or do I give my attention to other things? And those other things, are they more important than that relationship? How do I show attention in this relationship? How do I give affection, and how do I receive affection? In what ways can I reconnect to a deeper level and make things even stronger in this relationship? And I wonder what things you are going to start doing and paying attention to now going forwards. I wonder what those changes will create the ripple of in those relationships around you and with you. And that's me.
So I'm curious.
Oh, hang on, the sound went off. I'm talking too long.
Oh, you're not talking too long?
No, my speaker cuts out if there's no sound coming back through the other way. So that's why I couldn't hear it.
I'm curious if you're willing to take questions, if anybody has questions.
Go for it.
Does anyone have questions? Then I want to kick it off with one. I loved everything you had to say. I'm curious about one thing in particular. What I heard you say, and maybe I misunderstood, so correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but what I heard you say was you were sort of the impetus for ending your relationship early on.
Yeah.
And then you were the impetus for saying, ooh, let's try again.
Yeah.
How did you start that conversation? How does that conversation go? How do you leave somebody and then say, oh, wait a minute, I changed my mind. I'm just curious, how does that conversation go?
So for us, what happened was my husband he'd gone away for a little while, then he came back because there was a holiday already booked. So he went on holiday with the kids. I had time to get my head straight. And he come back. So we were kind of co-living together, but on different floors of the house. And it broke my heart to see him that mess. And we kept consoling each other. So 1 minute I'd be crying and he'd come up and he'd still hug me and he'd still hold me and he'd be like, it's all right, we'll figure it out. And we had a really nasty, horrible argument about how we were going to divide things up. And I was really hurt by it. And then once the heat of the moment had gone and we both listened and understood what each other had said, we changed all that and we went very mature and very, very adult. And so we were like, right, we're in this together. This is hard. We'll help each other out. So we were there consoling each other and still being a friend for each other, even though we were both really hurting. And he was supposed to be going up to his mother's the next day. And I just looked at him and I just went, I don't want you to go. It come right down to that line. He was just about to completely move out. And I don't want you to go. So he was like, what are we doing? And so we just sat down and it just come out as conversations naturally do when you realize what you want. It's cliche like the movies, but sometimes you have to really realize what you've got and what you're about to lose to recognize where you're really at and if it's worth saving or not. And believe me, it hasn't been all easy peasy going. It's been a road of recovery and very much still. And I expect it probably always will be, because that's what marriages are. You take the rough with the smooth. You take the good with the bad. If you've got kids, you'll have great days with the kids and you'll have days where you think, oh my God, what am I doing? Why did I choose this? It's the same. We have it with our parents, with our siblings. I can't think of any relationship that's perfect all the time. They all take work, every relationship.
I applaud you for having the courage to do it. I really do. Jen and Jennifer, you got a question?
There it is. Thank you, Nicole. That was lovely. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I have to say that I'm in that next chapter. My kids have grown up and now they've moved off and we've had to choose. I mean, just talk about relationships real quick before I give you my question. We have to choose to stay together because heaps of our friends all, went, oh, the kids are gone divorced. So there's so many different chapters of your life to look forward to. And in saying that, I wanted to ask you about the couple that you were talking about, if that was a real scenario or not. So you've got one person that you've been working with, and then their partner comes and asks you to also work with them. So how do you handle that? Because they would assume that you know everything. So confidentiality and everything.
So I said to them, I said, do you want to work together or do you want to work alone? I said, I'm not a relationship counselor. That's not my job. But if you trust me, you want someone to help work through it, I'm more than happy to sit down and figure this out for you. And we agreed that actually it's probably better to have them apart and then maybe bring them together once we've done a few sessions. And so as soon as the guy come in, I said, listen, me and your wife have been having conversations, but I can't tell you any of that. And don't ask me for any of that. I'm not going to share anything. I'm going to be completely impartial. You're just another guy, just like she's another girl. And I kept it very, very clean. So yeah, it was really important for me not to let them boundaries cross, because they have to explore that for themselves. Otherwise, they're not doing any healing. They have to explore them conversations for themselves, not through a third person. You know, the reason why they were having these issues was because they weren't communicating. So the worst thing you can do is be the person that becomes the communicator. They need to learn how to communicate. So it was a case of collapsing those anchors and releasing those negative emotions that built up over time. It was about using metaphors. You know, the butterfly in the chrysalis. If you was to take a knife and cut it down and let the butterfly out, it would have never fly. It actually has to break through the chrysalis in order to fly. That's what the clients need. They have to learn how to break through that blanket of protection they've put around themselves in order to soar and allow all the good to come. So yeah, it's a lot of metaphor work. I obviously talked about the whole knocking someone over in the street and how we forget things, crying over spilt milk. Do we need to yell and scream because the carton of milk fell on the floor? Or can we just say, right, you get the cloth, I'll get the bucket, and we work on it together? Does there really have to be blame for everything? And as soon as they realized where the blame game was, and one of the things was they hadn't recognized love. When I said about love is more than I love you, it was like, well, they never plug in the electric car and it winds me up. I was like, right, but do you not see that that's her way of getting your attention, because she likes you to do that for her, because she knows that you like to do that to make sure the car is always charged? And from the dynamics of the relationship, he had his ways, he took care of her, and she had her ways, she took care of him. But neither of them was seeing that. They were seeing it as irritations. And I was like, guys, this is how they show love. This, you know, it's not all about the language, like it's everything else and all that's in between. So it was just about getting them to just stop getting out of their own heads and start actually looking at what's going on in front of them.
Do you do you ever give them homework? What you're talking about just reminds me of that book, The 5 Love Languages.
The only homework I give is about going on dates and exploring things, so having fun, you know, finding out how they responded differently, and those sort of things, letting them be aware of where their triggers are and finding an appropriate response to that. And that's the homework. The homework is all in putting it back in, and to learn to appreciate yourself too, and be responsible, and just saying, hey, I need this, I need a hug right now, so come here and hug me, or I'm coming to you because I need a hug. So yeah.
Oh, very good advice.
That self-love piece is such an important piece. It's really hard to straighten out a whole relationship if you haven't straightened out that business with yourself first, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so important. And believe me, I'm still working on myself. There's still days I don't fully love myself or like myself, but that's okay because I'm human.
Well, that's an ongoing relationship too, right? It's got its ebbs and flows too.
Yeah.
But what I hope we can learn and help teach our clients is how to break that pattern, how to snap out of that more quickly than we once did, or in a different way, or find something that we can respond to in a more efficient way. I guess that's one of the things that's important to teach and for us to try too. Are there any other questions? So Nicole, how do we get in touch with you?
My website's www.nicole-dodd.com, and my email is info@nicole-dodd.com. I have no sales or anything for you guys. I just wanted to come and talk to you and just share the knowledge of what I've learned from working with people. So yeah, by all means, follow me on Facebook or get in touch. I'd love to chat. But I have no agenda other than just to say hi, and this is what I've learned.
Well, it's so lovely to have.
I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I was just saying it's so lovely to have had you with us, Nicole, and great evening, great topic, perfect for Valentine's Day. Things are so exciting here at the virtual chapter. So, Nicole, I want you to just hang on for a minute, because we're going to give everybody a chance to give you a proper send-off. And we just got one little tiny piece of business to do here. Karen, don't we have something going on next month on the virtual chapter as well?
We do have something going on next month on the virtual chapter as well. Victoria Gallagher will join us. We're going to talk about abundance and manifesting. And I don't know if you know Victoria Gallagher. You will after next month. She's just magnificent. Victoria specializes in the law of attraction. And it was kind of always a bugaboo of mine with the law of attraction. I'm a little more analytical than that.
I wasn't
But
attracted to
What?
it. I said I wasn't attracted to it.
That's right. But I got Victoria's book, The Practical Law of Attraction. I thought, okay, practicality I'm into. I just thought it was fabulous. Things to work through, things to do is really a great way to look at the law of attraction. And so she's going to share some of that stuff with us next month in the chapter. It'll be, of course, the second Tuesday of the month, as always. Same place.
Same place, same bat channel, same link. And then, by the way, the very next day is, as we told you earlier, the beginning of the presenter series. So 6 weeks of evenings, again, at the same logon link, where you'll be meeting the presenters of the pre and post conference programs for the Hypno Expo. So now, Nicole, thank you for hanging out because
it's the middle of your night. I hope you have a great day tomorrow and you get some sleep after all this.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
the last thing we love to do is just invite everybody to open up their microphones if they would, and give you a proper send-off in a great cacophony of love and spirit and applause and appreciation. So please, everybody, thank you, Nicole. It's been great having you with us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Oh,
Beautiful
that's
job.
great.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
night.
Nicole. Thank you.